That's okay. So I've contemplated doing this maybe at a later time. I've contemplated maybe waiting until a couple of my friends would be able to accompany me making this. Some of these clips will be recorded, some of them won't. I'm going to make sure that they stay on social media because I think a lot of people need to hear about this. Uh, Women and girls are being sold on this lie that the answer to their poverty, the answer to their lack of community, the answer to their struggles in life is entering prostitution. And hello, hi to everyone who's just joined. Um, the solution to their problems is entering prostitution, and that just simply, yes, I'm a new host. They're trying to portray this industry. They're trying to portray the sex trade as something that's just super welcoming, and there's a great community, and there's this and the other thing. People within the industry, they're doing, they're making the best of a bad situation. They're trying their best to kind of um, create this means of supporting the new girls who are entering, who are trying to escape poverty, who are trying to find and build relationships with other people. But the truth is that the foundation of the sex trade is degradation. The the foundation of the sex trade is degradation, and a lot of it has to do with women being willing to sacrifice their dignity, to sacrifice their humanity, and it creates this very transactional lifestyle where you can't separate your work from your real life. Um, I'm a survivor of the sex trade. A lot of these people, the lines are blurred. Their personal life and their work life is all dependent on constantly putting on this performance. You're constantly having to make excuses for the things that happen in the sex industry. You're constantly having to make excuses for, um, excuses for why you're degrading yourself, excuses for why you're allowing other people to degrade you, and that you're forced to pretend that you're enjoying. A lot of them aren't, and a lot of the reason why I wasn't involved in a lot of things and I didn't want to do a lot of things is because I don't like humiliation rituals. I don't like being treated a certain way or abused or looked at in a certain way. And I don't like fulfilling someone's desire to see a stereotype played out. A lot of the stereotypes in porn are heavily misogynistic, heavily homophobic, and heavily racist. And I don't think that that's constructive, and it does feed people's subconscious. It does feed people's subconscious, and it tells them that certain things are okay, that are not okay, and that are never okay. Porn portrays women as vehicles for the provision of sexual pleasure, the provision of male sexual pleasure, and like inactive objects. We are seen or portrayed as having to be convinced to participate in our own sexuality, and we are not active agents. And that simply isn't the case, and that's a dangerous way to think about sex. And younger demographics of girls are being introduced, or boys are being introduced to this idea that all the women and girls around them, all the females in their life, are secretly vying for male attention, are secretly vying for, um, you know, being coy and looking to engage male sexuality. And it's all a game, right? All these scenarios that you see in porn, it's all a game where women are having to be convinced to either participate in their own sexuality or they're chasing, you know, providing pleasure to a man instead of fulfilling herself. They're doing this through acts of degradation or through ritualized abuse like BDSM. You see this with, if you go on Twitter, I don't know how many of you have access to, I don't know how many of you have access to Twitter, but there's this Twitter account called Sex Work Creep Alert. And there are just so many instances of rapists infiltrating the sex trade so that they can. There are so many instances of. Okay, wait, wait, wait. There's so many instances of rapists entering the sex trade because they know it gives them unfettered access to women. They know it gives them unfettered access to sex and sexuality. And they know that 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be reprimanded or criticized for their bad behavior. They can do whatever they want and they don't have to answer to anyone. I think it's because my connection. I'm going to see if I can, let me see something. I'm going to see if I can switch because I know that some of these platforms, and also that's all connected to the same Wi-Fi. So maybe if I change it, then maybe it'll stop lagging so much. If it's lagging, let me know if you guys can hear me. I don't know how. I don't know which platform, because I'm live on everything. I'm literally on everything. I'm on TikTok and Twitch and Big O Live and YouTube and everything else. So let me see if I can. I'm going to switch one of them. So if you guys see me fiddling with things, it's because I literally have a bunch of different cameras and a bunch of different streams going on. Okay, so let's do that. And that should work for that. Okay, am I back? If you can see me, go ahead, or you can hear me fine, go ahead and say, I know YouTube is fine. Instagram is said to be fine. Hold on. Twitch is lagging, so I'm going to switch that one too. Hey, V, I hope you're doing good. I miss you. I'm going to be back soon. I'm in Atlanta, and I am suffering. Okay, so basically it portrays women as these inactive agents, right? Who things happen to you, but you don't do things. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone or not. A lot of these women end up trapped because they're convinced at a young age that they can just enter the sex industry or the sex trade, and if they don't like it, they can just leave. Now it says poor connection. Okay. Now it says poor connection. Thank you. Wow, that's wonderful. There we go. Okay. Now I hope I don't have any more interruptions, but yeah. So basically these women, they end up in this industry. So they end up in the sex trade so young, and all of the years that they're supposed to be learning new skills, getting certifications, networking, and doing all of these different things, finding out, the things they're interested in, they're stunted because they're in this kind of like deep dark hole, and they are only doing one thing. They're only being taught how to practice sexuality as a performance for someone else, as opposed to something that they enjoy on their behalf, on their own, something that is for them. It's not looked at as something that is personal to them. It's not looked at as something that's for their own pleasure. It is looked at as just another form of performance. And it creates these really toxic environments where the women, even I've been out as a lesbian for 10 years now. I'm 27. I've been out ever since, I had left, and I've come from a very religious household. And when I was navigating the sex trade, I noticed that the more I talked about my identity, my sexuality, and my struggle with being out as a lesbian, it was seen as a challenge. It was seen as something to be tested. These men, they would make veiled rape threats. They still do. They make these advances, these unwanted advances. Let me see. Thank you. They make these unwanted advances where they're trying to test and see what I'm willing to accept from men, and if I'm willing to engage in heterosexuality for their purposes or for their pleasure. And there's no respect. There really is none. There are little pockets and groups of women who try to create communities to support the women within the sex trade, but it ultimately always fails, because everyone in the sex trade, what they don't tell you is it requires poverty to function. these women have to be poor. These women are only like most of these women are only engaged with this industry because I have no idea what those car emojis mean. I'm so sorry. They have no idea about the truth of women's condition in the sex trade. And so what happens is you see these women who say, oh, I bought a house from OnlyFans, or oh, like OnlyFans allowed me like this financial freedom or financial stability, when it's all a lie. And a lot of these women are living on debt. They're living on credit cards. They're living on loans. They're living on like a lot of borrowed money, a lot of borrowed assets. And they're portraying this image of like wealth and prosperity because they know that if they look a certain way, they can recruit more girls to make money off of, and they'll be booked for more projects, and it'll help somewhat with their popularity. But it's this vicious cycle of getting into debt to portray this image of wealth and prosperity so that you can get more clients, so that you can get more things, and then you get into more debt so you can start the cycle all over again. Most women who are on OnlyFans, they're only making about like $120 a month, and they have to supplement that income with something else. A lot of people don't know that once you enter any form of prostitution, whether it be stripping, whether it be camming, whether it be OnlyFans, once you cross that threshold, other things don't look so extreme in comparison. If you were to go up to a girl in the street and you would ask her, hey, I want you to engage in prostitution to make money. Like, I want you to sleep with someone, or I want you to masturbate in front of a bunch of people, and I'll give you money for it. Most women will say no. Like, if you approach a woman on the street and you ask her that, she'll say no. But if you are already doing OnlyFans, or if you're already stripping, or if you're already doing some form of involvement in the sex trade, prostitution doesn't seem so extreme, just because you have that proximity to it. And that's how a lot of these women end up in these lifelong cycles, these lifelong traps of being stuck in prostitution and not having any other outside prospects, because they don't have access to they don't have any resources to learn. They don't have any apprenticeships. They're not learning any new skills. They're not being taught how to navigate the world of employment. And it doesn't really matter where you start. It doesn't even matter if you are middle class. Even if you have a family that's willing to support you, you eventually will hit that poverty, like that poverty bracket. You eventually will get there, because the sex trade requires poverty to function. It requires you to constantly be chasing these new bookings and new clients and new videos and new events and new projects and all of these different things that, like, this is the thing about the sex trade. You don't get health insurance, you don't get a pension, you don't get a 401k, you don't get all of these things that people in the workforce or people in the labor fields get that supports them. Like, there's no time off, there's no paid time off, there's no severance. Once you stop working, you stop making money. And so these girls, they work through sickness, they work through mental illness, which often exacerbates the problem. They work through just all these different issues that they may be having that they have to keep silent about, because thinking about the reality of, entertainers, people treat celebrities like trash. So what do you think they're going to do to a porn star or a stripper or a prostitute who's constantly complaining about the things that are happening in her life? No matter how bad those things may be, a lot of people just don't empathize, and they don't think of you as someone who's deserving of sympathy or who is deserving of being heard and listened to, because you chose this lot in life. And a lot of people that I've met in the sex trade ended up introduced to the sex trade very young. Like, I'm talking 14 and 15. They were being brought onto porn sets. They were being introduced to managers. They were being shown these pornographic videos, and it was normalized to the point of they thought it was just something that everybody did, which isn't the case. And these people, they recruit through lies. They recruit through dishonesties. And these girls, these kids are very impressionable, right? They don't know anything about the world yet because they ain't been nowhere and they ain't seen shit. So when they look at these things, and the adults in their lives are offering them this kind of guidance, where the only voices in their ear, the only people that they're hearing are these pimps and traffickers, they're going to think that this is a normal lifestyle. And what happens is their ability to develop relationships with other people, their ability to ask for help, and their self-perception becomes very corrupt, decayed, and distorted. And so navigating normal life becomes so much harder for them. It becomes so much more impossible for them to leave because they don't have the tools. And there are no real systems and institutions to help women leave prostitution and stay out. A lot of these, it's a big racket, really. A lot of these institutions, a lot of these churches, a lot of these organizations, they come in and they say, hey, we notice that you kind of trapped in this prostitution thing. And so what we're going to do is we're going to offer you a way out, but you have to enter a circuit. And when you enter that circuit, you have to go and you have to do press and you have to do news and you have to do interviews saying how bad your life under prostitution was. And we're basically going to pimp you to all the big news companies, and you're going to make documentaries and you're going to do this. And it's all over again. It starts all over again. And if they're not willing to do that, then they don't get the support that they need. They don't get tools and resources to help them get jobs. They don't get housing. They don't get any of the things that they need in order to stay out of prostitution. And so they end up going back. And there's no real incentive for these places and these people and these institutions to help these women. And so they don't. Which is why I'm here today is, hopefully I can, someone who sees this is encouraged to, or someone who hears this is encouraged to pursue some form of support, some form of, hi, Emily, some form of helping these women escape. There are some, and there's some, organizations that do dedicate themselves to actually helping these women without pimping them to circuits, without sending them off to be paraded around in front of the public eye and saying, hey, look, I made this, stupid decision, or I did this thing with my life that I really didn't understand. And it caused this. Like, nobody wants to be a poster child or a cautionary tale, like a private citizen. This is the thing about pornography. Once you enter, you have all of the publicity of a regular celebrity, but you have none of the protections. You don't have any of the wealth. And so you can't run to hey, Roxy, you can't run to your private house in Hollywood Hills or North Hollywood and escape the critical eyes of the general public. Because when you come out and say, okay, I did this, and this is what happened to me, and this was the result of it, most people aren't going to empathize with you. Most people aren't. They don't. It's seen as a personal failing. And so they're like, well, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, do what you got to do. And there's a lot of shame that's associated with it. And I feel like if I didn't have that foundation of like discovering other things like music and carpentry and, like my love of cars, then I would definitely be a lot more screwed than I am today. I would be a lot more desperate than I am today. I wouldn't have income. I would probably be on the street, which is where a lot of women end up. A lot of women who age out of pornography end up doing street prostitution. And it's really sick because you see these women and their whole lives, they have their whole lives ahead of them. They have so much potential and they have so many things that they could be doing instead of engaging the sex trade. And they don't know it because all of the adults in their lives either neglect them or misguide them, and they end up stuck. They end up falling into the cracks, and there's nobody there to help them. There's nobody there to offer them, a way out. And I see it all the time. I've just seen on Twitter that people are portraying the sex trade as like this shit. Let me go back and look at the thing to look at it. It's basically, they were saying something to the fact of it's a way to like affirm your identity in the world and to like have this form of community and this like safe place in society where like the misfits can go. But it's not true. And a lot of the times you're going to find yourself in poor and failing mental health because they're going to require you to do things and humiliate yourself in order to make any money. And if you're constantly doing this, and you have to keep doing it because if you stop, you're not making money, then it creates like this fractured reality where, you know, you perceive the world in a colder way, in a more transactional way, and you start telling yourself that no one loves you, no one cares about you. Um, yes, I want to. Fuck, I hate this. I hate this topic so much. It takes so much out of me to talk about this. But when you look at the Canadian stripper visas and the failure of that program, how quickly they had to cancel it. You hear a lot of people saying there's only one way to make the sex trade safer. There's only one way to make the sex trade safer, and that's through decriminalization. But that is not true. And I hate saying it. It's not true. It's not true. The Canadian stripper visas were a program where women from other countries, because the strip clubs didn't have enough women to fulfill the need for new strippers and exotic dancers, because these women are a novelty. They see you for a week and they're sick of you. And so they have to get someone new. They have to get a new girl. Yes, it's a real piercing. They have to get a new girl, and there weren't enough women. Even in Australia right now, there aren't enough women in the brothels. And so they're trying to recruit women from these other countries. And what happened was these pimps and traffickers from other countries were getting women from impoverished European nations, were getting women from African countries, were getting women from impoverished countries in Asia. And they were bringing them to Canada and saying, hey, listen, if you want to make some money, if you need financial support, you can dance in Canada and you can get the money you need to support your family or pay for medication or do whatever you need to do. When these women arrived into Canada, they weren't making the money they were promised. And so these pimps and traffickers basically forced them into these local motels that they had deals with. There were so many people were getting fucked over. And they were saying, listen, you didn't make enough money tonight to pay me my fee for bringing you here. So you're going to be a prostitute, and we're going to bring you clients and you're going to sleep with them. You're going to make money, or else we're going to kill you and you'll never see your family again. You'll be stuck here. And oftentimes when you think of these women, these aren't women who are speaking English, right? So they don't know the language. They're not citizens, so they don't have full access to their rights, depending on the country that they enter. And when they're brought into these new places, they don't know how to navigate. They can't communicate with the local population. And so how are they going to ask for help? And they were finding that there were hundreds of women entering these programs to be brought into like these things where, oh, okay, we're just going to be stripping. It's harmless. You're just going to be doing this. It's harmless. Camming is harmless. None of it's harmless. All of it's prostitution, and all of it is a gateway into basic. Somebody said, I was in a prostitution legal country and there's no safety in prostitution ever. That's very true. These brothels are not looking out for these women. Anytime that these brothels are going through inspection, it's to make sure that they have a standard of quality where the service is good, but not the condition of the women is good. In Australia, they're seeing a shortage of women who are willing to enter prostitution. And so what happens is they reach out to these other women and say, hey, you can get work visas here. You can get, oh, thank you. I appreciate the badge. They say you can get these work visas and you can come here and make money. But what happens is once these women come to these countries and they get these quote unquote work visas that are sponsored by these brothels and these other like programs and strip clubs, they end up not making the money they were promised and having to go into more and more extreme forms of prostitution. If you think about how porn has changed in the last 50 years, it went from maybe just having sex and some light fetishes to extreme, tying women up and beating them down and spitting on them and urinating on them, calling them names, dehumanizing them, kicking them, all of these different like violent acts, all of this ritualized abuse, all of these things that are not a normal part of people's sex lives. And it's affecting the general population. You're seeing women complain about their dating lives where men are doing things. And I see that people are like buying little gifts and stuff. I really appreciate it. Because this is hard to talk about. So that's kind of motivation a little bit. That's, I guess, the horror me. But fuck. Anyway. The money that they're promised. The way porn has changed in 50 years has affected the general population, and you see these women complaining about their dating lives, where their sexual partners, heterosexual or opposite sex attracted women, are dating these men who are choking them during sex, just doing all of these violent acts, not consenting, non-consensual, like slapping them in the face or calling them names. And this is someone that you're trusting with your body, you're trusting with your intimacy, you're giving them the most honest part of yourself, and you're trying to share that with them. And then it's just it's like a shock, shell shocked, because where did that come from? And you never talked about it before. And it's crazy to me how violent society has become towards women and male sexuality in just 50 years because of pornography. And these men who are consuming pornography, the more of it they consume, the more numb they become to it. And the more numb they become to it, the more extreme that they want, the more videos, or the more extreme they want the content to be. And so we went from just regular sex to women being beaten, and society trying to normalize that. And I remember starting a thread on Twitter that said, like, sex isn't supposed to hurt. And not that I was offended, but there were a bunch of people that were saying, oh, you're just vanilla. You're just like, if you don't like it, then you shouldn't talk about it. And kink shaming is bad. But the thing about it is, there are so many women, like, I don't think we talk enough about this. There's so many women who end up dead because of rough sex gone too far. I have so many articles that I posted in that thread that was just it was so disturbing to me, because women are actually being killed during sex because men think it's normal to do things like choking and slapping, and they don't know the right way to do it, right? There is no right way, but they don't know the harm-reduced way to do it, to perform these acts. And so what they're doing is they are actually choking these women. They're not doing the thing where you only squeeze this part of the neck. They are actually choking, full-on choking and punching and hitting these women. And a lot of them don't know how to restrain themselves. They don't know how to control their strength, and these women end up seriously hurt or dead, because it's just, they thought it was something that all women did. They thought it was something that all women are into. They thought it's something that was just normal, a normal part of sex and sexuality. And the thing about people being taught about sex and sexuality from porn is that there are no limits. And the adult video industry is one of the least regulated industries in the sex trade. You have so many videos of these children being raped on Pornhub. And when you contact Pornhub and you say, hey, this is me, and I'm a minor in this video and I'm being raped, and I want this video removed, they will question you and put you through hoops and question the validity of, well, how do we know that? And how do we know that, this is just something that you just don't regret? Or how do we know that you're just not trying to get someone's account taken down, or whatever have you, whatever drama that they think or that they say. And the result of that are rape victims and child sexual abuse survivors being re-traumatized over and over again, and getting approached on the street and say, hey, I'm your biggest fan, and having to be reminded of one of the worst moments of their lives being replayed and being accessible to everyone in the world at the click of a button. And it's just, I find it funny. Well, not funny really as much as tragic, but I find it extremely grotesque that the most popular videos on these porn sites are videos of women either being brutalized or some kind of like imitation of rape, right? Or rape video, straight up rape video. And they're the most popular ones, the ones that are the more extreme videos, the ones that are the crazier videos, the more sensational videos. They're the ones that get the views. And it says a lot about the people who watch porn. And I'm not saying that they're completely irredeemable. I'm not saying that they're just like this inherently. I'm saying that porn is creating these people. It's creating this generation of people who think it's normal to enact violence, to enact humiliation rituals and ritualized abuse against women. And that's just a part of sexuality, and it's not. So I'm going to begin taking questions. I think I got what I had to say out of the way. I'm a little disorganized because I'm not Y'all can just tell I'm kind of fucked up right now. And also I'm in Atlanta and I hate being here. And I never, I just want to do a vigil. So I'm going to scroll through these comments and answer some questions. Okay. And read the comments also. Porn is destructive for the men who watch it and for the women who perform it. You know what? There's this quote, and I forgot who said it. I don't know if it's Andrew Dworkin or not, but it says, porn tells lies about women and the truth about men. And a lot of these porn videos are, the most violent men are the ones who get into porn, who want to enact like these crazy actions against women without, like, because they know that they're not going to get in trouble for it, because it's normal. It's normal in porn to punch a woman in the face or urinate on her. I know some of you are familiar with ghetto gaggers. If you're not, God bless you. And I'm saying this as an atheist. You're pure. Keep that purity. Don't ever look that shit up. It's horrible and it's heartbreaking. And the guy who has ghetto gaggers, he has so many rape accusations against him. He has caused women to attempt their own lives. I'm trying to be as clean as possible while saying this, because I don't want to get banished again from social media. Thank you for the rose. Ironically, he has caused women to go into mental failure. He has caused them actual physical injuries where they couldn't work and they had to go to the hospital. And when their families ask, well, hey, Patty, I just seen that. What happened to you? And they don't have an answer, right? And a lot of these, there are so many ads on Craigslist, because that's how I got jobs, right? I really started working and doing labor on Craigslist, and I was sitting there looking through the ads, trying to get good jobs. And then when you get there, it's not what it says it is. So like these modeling opportunities or like these cleaning jobs, like the really simple light work, is really a lot of it is pimps. And they're like, listen, well, I had someone come already and do the work that I was requesting, but instead you can do this or you can do that. And it ends up being something where they're propositioning you to enter the sex trade if you're not there already, or if you've left and you're just looking for simple work, then they're going to try to reintroduce you into it. So Mike says, what was the breaking point for you? The breaking point for me it was gradual, because I was out as a lesbian. I was a lesbian escort, lesbian prostitute, and I would see women. And around the time Backpage went down, a lot of the lesbian exclusive advertising sites went down. And so I had to advertise where everyone else was. And most of the women were straight. So like the regular sites, I'm not going to say them on here, that I placed ads on, I was being seen by everybody now. I was being seen by men, by women, everyone. And when it was publicized that I'm a lesbian, it was publicized that I wanted exclusively female clients, I was getting rape threats. I was getting people that were threatening to kill me. I was getting people who were like trying to insult me for my, I guess, unconventional physical appearance. And so I took a step back and I started working as security for girls on porn shoots. And what they would do is like they would hire me to come, like to accompany them, especially with someone who was new and they'd never shot with before, or a company that they'd never shot with before and doesn't really have a reputation yet. And I would go with them to make sure that they were safe. I do carry my weapon, and I used to do MMA so I can fight. So I was like, might as well. I fight anyway. And I miss it. I do. And so, yeah, I go there, I accompany them, and I would make sure that they were safe, that there was no non-consensual play, and that everything being done was being done without force. And what I saw on two different occasions, one in Chicago and one in New Jersey, was on set, there was a rape in progress, and I had to get involved physically to break it up, right? And so in New Jersey, this girl, she came under, the agreement that they were just going to do X, Y, Z. And there was this new element introduced and a whole other person it was never told to her that this person was going to be there. And she's like, well, I don't know this person. They're not tested. I don't want to do anything with them. And so they were like, well, this is the talent. And if you don't do it, you're not getting paid. And what a lot of people don't understand is these girls spend their last dollar to get to these shoots. They're often spending money on flights and everything else like that, because it's not like how it used to be. It's not like these companies are flying these women out. They're spending their own money to get to these shoots, and they essentially have to do it if they want to get back. And you're signing this release before you shoot. You're giving them the photo of your ID before you shoot, and you don't get paid until after. So a lot of these women feel compelled to proceed with the shoot, even though they don't want to. But when it gets to too much and they say, no, I don't want to do it anymore, they still continue. And so what happens is this girl, she's saying no, she's saying, stop, I don't want to do this. And he's still on top of her. And I'm like, okay, it's my time. And I got this guy up like this, right? And I'm literally physically rolling. So there's 100% footage of this. They have the footage. I'm not going to say the name yet because if I say the name, everyone's going to already know who I'm talking about. But after that, after I removed the guy I got him off top of her, and I escorted her out, right? As she's driving, I notice, I know something's not right? I know that she's traumatized. She just, survived a rape, and, something like that is insanely traumatic, and just, it really does fracture your reality. And she's swerving the car, thinking about attempting her life. And I'm watching this, I'm in the passenger seat watching this. And so I take the wheel and I'm like, listen, stop. And she stops the car and we have a little conversation, and I drive us the rest of the way. And from there, it was like one of the most surreal moments in my time in the sex trade. And then the second time was this girl who was very obviously on heroin. I used to do it so I would know. She was very obviously high, right? And so they're trying to shoot. Everyone's like, oh, no drug use or whatever, but they don't have a way of testing for that. And they don't test for it. So she was very obviously high, and they're trying to do this scene, and they're trying to prop her up, but she's nodding off and shit. And I'm like, she can't shoot. Obviously she just took some shit in the bathroom. And y'all are still trying to get this scene done. We can't, this is unethical. We can't do this. And so as they're trying to prop her up, I was like, okay, look, this obviously, this woman is not well. You just can't make a scene with someone who's like this. And so they're trying to turn her on her back and shit, and maybe play it off as this kind of, I'm like, no. And so what I do is I'm just no, walk into the middle. They shut off the cameras, and I'm picking her up, and she's essentially I'm just dragging her out of the building and putting her in the back seat. And I'm just letting her rest there. Obviously I always have water. So I have the water, and I crack the top so that she can, it's easy for her to open and access, and, wait for her to kind of pass come down. And it just, the reality of it is she didn't want to be there. Right. She had to get high to do that scene because she didn't want to do it. But she knows she had to do it or she wasn't going to make the money. And for whatever reason that she needed the money. And obviously I didn't take any money from these women, right? Because they didn't get to shoot. They didn't get paid or whatever. And obviously these were very traumatic situations for them. I'm not going to ask them to pay me on top of that. But it was just after seeing that, and after seeing the reality of what happens to women in the sex trade, it really does break you down mentally. And it's not just the shit that people say to you. It's the way they treat you. And it's you lose your humanity. And so I don't care how strong you are. If you do enter the sex trade, you will use drugs. It's just that it's a natural progression. The sex trade is the only industry where people act as if rape is just an occupational hazard, that it's going to happen to you eventually. So you might as well accept it. And it's just so, and for the people on Twitter, if you want to request to speak, to ask a question, go ahead and I will answer. Sorry I haven't acknowledged the Twitter space. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, it doesn't matter how strong you are. You will end up using some form of, some way to escape, because it is a violent industry. It does really remove your humanity from you. It does fuck up your ability to have normal relationships with people, like normal friendships and normal romantic relationships. It's just completely and utterly destroyed. And you're going to spend a lot of time trying to recover that, because it introduces relationships as inherently transactional. Like if someone does something for you, then you do something for them, and if you do something for them, then you're entitled to have them do something for you. But it's never something that's done out of love or care or admiration. It's just what it is. I speak very broken Creole. Someone says all porn is designed to destroy you spiritually, regardless of the genre. It's spiritual warfare. It is. It really is. And a lot of the times, these women are broken down so much to the point of where they don't, like, you have to be a zombie. And substance abuse comes with a variety of problems on its own. That is something I'm going to talk about another enough. And I'll admit that, don't test my gangster. I'm not in that place. But it creates more problems than it solves, and you never really escape the poverty you were looking to escape from when you enter the sex trade. These people are kept poor. They're kept between bookings so that they can produce more content. Because if you're poor and you're always looking for the next project, then you aren't going to say no to very many things. And what you'll see is it's not, even though there are very toxic beauty standards, very racist beauty standards, and just very harmful beauty standards in the porn industry, there aren't the girls who are successful. Hey, Joan, the girls who are successful aren't the prettiest girls. It's the girls who say yes to everything. The girls who are saying yes to everything are the girls who are going to have the most success in the sex trade, because, again, you're looked at as a receptacle. You're looked at as someone who is ultimately something that is constantly receiving. You're just a bunch of holes. You're not a person. The Johns don't care about you. And so as long as you're willing to perform, as long as you're willing to do that public performance, then you'll have success. But the second that you're not willing to do it anymore, the second that you need to take a break, the second that you express any frustration, that's when you start to struggle. Mike says, "How's your mental health right now?" It's okay, but it's not great, because I was here for a vigil, and there was this girl who she was released that her ex-boyfriend was stalking her, and he wasn't leaving her alone or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, we can't do anything until he does something to you," and he ended up killing her. And also, y'all know I hate the fuck out of Atlanta. I really do. I hate Atlanta. I hate being here. But I'm going to be here if it means that I can help someone or I can bring awareness to a certain issue. So, I ate it. And also I had a friend that was here, and I wanted to help her too. Two friends, actually. And I'm always going to try to help my friend, because there was no one who was looking out for me. And I'm hard-headed. Everyone knows this. I am very hard-headed. And everything I've learned, I've had to learn the hard way, because I'm just that way. And when I want something, I want it really badly. And one of the things that I've always wanted was comfort, because that comfort is a luxury that I really haven't been afforded in my life. So I've always been chasing it, whether that was through like drugs or through get rich quick schemes, or through the sex trade, because and I don't talk about this a lot, but I don't know how to make friends. And I don't know how to interact with people outside of work, because everything I've done or everything I've experienced has been either in the corporate world or in the blue collar field or in prostitution. So it's always been like work, 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 work for me. And I've never really had a real personal life, which is kind of ironic. Yes, I do therapy, and I do group, and I go to AA, and I do all the things. But I find that the non-conventional methods work out for me, like Trauma Mondays, which is like this project I do with women who have been like heavily traumatized throughout life. And we just kind of bond and tell each other things and share tips and tricks and ways to cope outside of like substance abuse and shit. And also, I'm not religious and I don't believe in a God, so AA doesn't work for me. I do try to do the steps when I can because, I don't think that it's all rubbish. I don't think that it's all garbage. But I think ultimately, like, it just doesn't, as a system, it doesn't work for me. So, but a lot of these women, they don't like, they don't just go into the work field again or the workforce again because they don't know how. And so they don't really have access to therapy, and they don't have access to group, and they don't have access to like they don't have any way to pursue their sobriety because it's like you either just quit or you die. And that doesn't work for a lot of people because for me, it didn't stick. Like sobriety didn't stick the first couple times. I had to try over and over and over again. And this time it stuck. So I hope it sticks this time. And I'm doing everything I can to maintain it. And I'm trying to make sure that I take care of myself and my mental health. But there's not an option for a lot of people who do want to leave. And it's not an option for people who have left. And a lot of women do end up homeless after leaving the sex trade because they don't have any resources and they don't have anyone to, like, I got an apprenticeship when I was in and out of the sex trade, when I was like, I was performing and doing music and shit, like dabbling in a bunch of different shit. And I really wish I never did, but I was introduced who, she was kind of like a sugar mama, but she me to grow clubs, and that's how I got into prostitution. Thanks, Carlos. I appreciate it. I'm trying, and I think you're doing great too. We're both like, we got this. Sobriety is a motherfucker, but it's necessary. These women who try to leave, how they don't know how to go get jobs. Like I used to do employment assistance for women who were like survived domestic violence or who were trying to exit the sex trade. And what I found is like these women don't even know how to format a resume. Like no one ever taught them. They just jump out on the street and they're like, or I want to have a normal life now. But like they don't have a way to do that. Like they don't know how to format a resume. They don't know how to apply to jobs. They don't know how to go into and say, like, they don't even know what to say. They don't know how to do an interview. They don't know what a callback is. They think it's like they think things are just the way that they think about things is so distorted. And I feel like I would have that very well could have been me if I didn't have the foundation that I have and I didn't start working so early. Because if I didn't start, my very first job, I was like 16. Well, okay, it was before that, but my very first official job on papers was when I was 16 and I was working at Burger King. And it was the worst job I ever had and I hated it. But if it wasn't for that job and it wasn't for like the people around me at the time, thank you. If it wasn't for the people around me at the time teaching me how to like navigate the workforce as like this budding adolescent, and I am a late bloomer, so like, learning shit is hard for me and it takes longer for shit to stick, then I would have been trapped. I would have been very much stuck, and I definitely wouldn't be sober today. Well, no, yes, I'm an atheist, but I know that there's evil. Like, I'm not stupid. I don't think that, like, spirituality, I don't think it's, like, literal ghosts and shit jumping out at you. But, like, your spiritual self is, like, your innermost well-being, like, past your mental health, past your physical body, and all of the things that like, I think spiritual and subconscious are very similar. And they very well may be the same thing. Like, I don't have a true understanding of what the fuck is out there energy-wise. And I'm not going to say that shit doesn't exist. I haven't seen it, so I don't believe it. But when I say spiritual warfare, I mean, like, your overall well-being. And I think mental and spiritual influence each other, right? So when you're constantly being attacked and bombarded with these messages that you're not good enough and you have to do more and you have to sacrifice your dignity in order to make income constantly, then that's going to fuck you up spiritually, mentally, and physically. Like, it is. That's just how it is. Like, we see how these celebrities, when the tabloids are constantly coming at them for their physical appearance, they develop eating disorders and mental illnesses and substance abuse issues because you're under this magnifying glass where people are able to criticize parts of your life that they think is real or the things that they think are real about you that very well may not be real, but it's just their perception. And they don't really have that empathy for you because, well, you're rich, you'll be okay. And it's the same thing with prostitution, where you're seen as like this irredeemable whore. You know, you don't have feelings, you're an it. And we see this even landscape where in America during like the 70s and 80s, when like the murder rates for prostitutes in the street were very high, they were called non-human crimes, which were also something that happened to indigenous women, but mostly prostitutes. And when a prostitute was like murdered or something like that, they would be considered like non-human crimes because you weren't a person. And that attitude is still very prevalent in society today, where it's like people can just, they can dump all their anger and hatred out on you or their trauma or whatever, and you just receive it and you just absorb it because that's what you're there for. Like you are just basically a sponge. You're not a person. And you're there to serve. Like your entire existence is based around serving other people. And it really fucks up your ability to express your boundaries, because when you do, everyone's like, well, it's your job. Like it's your job to constantly be on call. And it's like, you don't clock in and clock out, right? You're just constantly, like if you're a prostitute, then you're seen as someone who constantly has to be receiving, and you have to be a therapist, even if you're fucked up mentally, and you have to, you know, pat other people up and you have to make them feel good about themselves. And you have to do all of these different things where you feel as if, I don't know who this person is. I feel scared about accepting invitations to lives because I always feel like it's going to be like this person that jumps out and says something really grotesque, or it's just like jerking off, which has traumatized me so much. Because they did that when I started talking about this, is that, oh, like you're so irresponsible, and it doesn't happen to everyone, and it doesn't happen to like all of the people who are doing prostitution. It's just you, or maybe it just didn't work out for you. I'm like, no, most of the women who enter prostitution don't want to be there, right? And Sister Melissa, oh shit. Well, fuck it. A woman that I know, she entered at the age of 13. Like she was being prostituted by a grown-ass boyfriend. She was 13 and being prostituted by a 25-year-old man. And her mother didn't do anything about it. Her father wasn't around. And just her whole life we're the same age. Her whole life has been just people betraying her and neglecting her, and her not knowing, like everything that we've learned about this world, we had to teach ourselves. Like there was no one to tell us, this is how you do this is how you do that. And I had to fight for like apprenticeships, which was a whole other demon. And I wasn't really, when I started in certain industries, I wasn't really welcome because a lot of my interests were with fields that happen to be male dominated. In fields that were seen as like women aren't supposed to enter. So it was hard for me to kind of like come up and just be normal and have a normal life. Like I've never had a normal life. And so these women end up just really fucked. You really get fucked when you enter the sex trade. If anyone has any questions, I have not been scrolling this one. Let me look. Sorry. If anyone has any questions, I will be answering them now. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, it does. And it takes a long time to recover. It really does. It takes a very long time to recover from exiting the sex trade and like defragmenting the things that happened to you and like kind of like trying to understand why things were wrong, how they were wrong, and how it affected you. It's like when a kid is being assaulted and they know that something's not right, but they don't know how to describe what's happening to them. That's a lot of women in the sex trade. Like that's typically what happens is they know something's not right, but they just don't know how to describe it for themselves. So I have this project called the International Women's Resource Initiative, and I'm launching it next year. I'm doing a bunch of shit. Hopefully I can find other women who have the same passion for this as I do, and they want to help women navigate out of the sex trade, because most of the women who are there don't want to be there. And just despite what you see on Twitter, these OnlyFans girls, they're being paid. A lot of the girls who are on OnlyFans are not doing pornography or nudity. They're not, they're being paid to say, yeah, like, no, like I've for me, retirement is just like not dealing with the sex trade anymore. It was so traumatic. And, you know, you have people, I have a million fucking stories. I have a million stories of like guys running up and trying to say some shit, or like the rape threats, the death threats, the hacking and trying to break into my apartment and put cameras and then who do you tell, right? When you're a prostitute, what the fuck do you tell the police? You're like, I'm a prostitute and like someone's trying to fuck with me. You're going to jail, bitch. And it's not funny, but it's like, it's illegal. So what the fuck are you gonna do? And the Johns are hardly ever punished. It's always the women. And that's why I say we need stricter regulations. I guess the Nordic model could be a step in the right direction, but it doesn't really address the problem. And it doesn't really acknowledge the fact that these industries, a lot of systems and institutions that exist today rely on the sex trade. And it relies on women society really relies on female subjugation to function. And unless people are willing to come to terms with that, there's not going to be a lot of people are not going to be willing to do the work to like actually address the issue at hand. I don't know what the fuck is flashing in the bottom of my screen right here. And you're right. It's a rock and a hard place. There's no one that's really willing to help because, again, there's no incentive. And the problem is we live in a society that's so transactional, right? That when we look at problems, we look at a way to profit from them as opposed to just a way of just solving the problem. We don't look at these issues as like, all right, somebody needs help, let's just help them. Everything always has to be some form of, how can I profit from this? Or how can I make money from this? Or how can I get famous from this? And it attracts like these clout demons and these monopoly men who want to make money off of suffering people. And that's why I think AA is bullshit. I'm never gonna say people shouldn't ask for help, but all of it's always about profit. And that's the problem, because these women they've been exposed to, oh, what's up, Brazil, represent. They're constantly exposed to like people trying to make money off of them. And so if they see that the whole world is just a big Ponzi scheme or something that's trying to get, like someone's always trying to get something from you, they're just going to stop asking for help. And that's just going to bring them back around. Their needs are going to need to be met regardless. So that's just going to circle back around to them re-entering prostitution. And that's just the deep, dark hole. One of the things that scares me, though, and I talk about this often, but one of the things that scares me, like keeps me up at night, scares me. Fuck. These girls on TikTok are being exposed to OnlyFans and being told that they can make so much money from OnlyFans that it's normal to them. That they just, as soon as they're 18, they're signing up. And now they have their own OnlyFans where these recruiters are subscribing to these new girls' accounts. And they're recruiting them for these porn companies, especially these low-budget porn companies. And they just end up stuck there. And I don't think a lot of people know this. I don't know how it is anywhere else. But once you enter the sex trade in the United States, you can never work in healthcare, you can never work in childcare, and you can never work for the government. So, it's just one of those fucking things. And so already before like they've reached that point in their life where they really learn, know, and understand what they want to do with themselves and with their lives, they're already cut off from these three major industries. I feel like the normalization via OnlyFans has really gained ground in the last few years. Yes. And it's haunting the fuck out of me. It is haunting me that these people, they're going around chanting that sex work is work. They're going around chanting that like the sex trade is a normal, like it's a normal job. It's a normal thing to do. And it's not. This shit is not normal. This shit will fuck you up. And it keeps you, like, you have to be constantly performing and entertaining. And there's this expectation of you to, no, I don't. I'm out of the sex trade. But Yeah, these girls are being targeted in such a way that like a lot of shit is being closed off to them before they can even start their lives. Like, I can't even imagine where I would be right now because I've always had an affinity for like the rock star lifestyle, and I was like, I want to do music and I want to go on tour and I want to hang out with like all these titans in the rock industry, and I always want to, like I want to meet like my idols and shit, and just chasing that kind of lifestyle. And like doing music is expensive. So like when people are like, oh, you can supplement your income with this, that, and the other thing, you're like, oh fuck yeah. And then you get there and you're like, what the fuck? This is awful. This is terrible. And you want to get out, and the only options you really have are just all the fucked up options. Me personally, like I'm getting my life back together slowly but surely. It did ruin a lot of my relationships with other people. And this does not mean go out there and treat prostituted women like shit. Please don't do that. The industry does that enough already. But just for the people who can, I encourage you to read books from Andrea Dworkin, because she does like her books. I'm going to pull up my list right now. There's a library that I have for anyone who's interested. Hold on. Don't judge me. I have long passwords. And that's my number one. Like, I hate that people say that I'm paranoid, but I do think that like one day somebody's gonna hack my shit, and they're gonna just like, I don't know, they're gonna do something. They're gonna do something. And I'm lucky enough to not have gotten too big, because one of the things that worries me about my future, I don't ever intend on having kids, but I don't want my career as a musician or as a director, because I do horror movies, which is like a big thing for me. It's always been a big thing for me. I don't want it to be overshadowed by my time in the sex trade. I don't want my work to kind of take a back seat to. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And it's hard to talk about this shit because people are they're always kind of just trying to make you shut up, because it's an uncomfortable conversation to have. And I get it. A lot of people who are lonely, they use pornography, they use companions, but like we have to stop thinking about sex as something that people are entitled to, because we're not entitled to access to other people's bodies. It's not a thing. And I get it. There are people who are really struggling with loneliness. There are people who are really struggling with like their sexuality. And I also find that like sex and sexuality is so hard now, because a lot of the stuff I learned about myself is through experimenting with other women and going to parties and hanging out with lesbians. And these were people that I was fucking them because I was attracted to them, not because, they were giving me money. And it allowed me to be like, it allowed me to explore more about myself and more about other people, as opposed to me performing and serving someone else exclusively. And a lot of women they're in prostitution, and they don't learn about the things they like in sex, because like if they do find out stuff, it's by accident, because they're prioritizing someone else's comfort and pleasure over their own. So those books, Not for Sale: Feminists Resisting Prostitution and Pornography by Rebecca Wisnett and Christine Stark. Feminism, Prostitution, and the State: The Politics of Neo-Abolitionism by Eileen Boris and Jill Brantley. Let me see. Where's my Andrea Dworkin list? Where is my Andrea Dworkin list? Unfortunately, you cannot get physical copies of Andrea Dworkin's books, but you can read them online, because her piece of shit husband, her ex-husband, has control of her assets because she didn't have a will. So that's fun. But yeah, I'm going to release a list of these things that you can see on my Goodreads page, because I'm really big into books. And it's like, I guess one of the ways outside of like drugs, it's like a form of escapism for me, music and books. So, okay, Prostitution and Male Supremacy by Andrea Dworkin is a good one. I have this long list of shit, and it's not really organized. It's just a big list of books. Woman Hating by Andrea Dworkin is a good book. Hey, what's up to everyone who just said hey to me? Okay, and I think that's just about it. I'm going to have other live videos where I'm more organized in what I'm going to say, but it's just, hey, what's up? I hope your bunny is really comfortable, and so are you. But yeah, I'm going to do more lives in the future where I'm more organized, and there's going to be more promotion so I can have like a larger audience, because I do think this is something that people need to hear. But I was feeling really distressed because a girl in my life, and she's like a little sister to me, started talking to me about having watched pornography, and I'm horrified that she will find a video of me and think that it's something that's like a legitimate option for her, and it's not. And these young girls and these young boys are watching this porn, and the boys are treating the girls accordingly. I know things seem well, and I might be making it look good, but y'all, I am really struggling, especially mentally. And I'm grateful that I'm put together today, and I'm more organized, and I'm not a fucking mess, because I usually am. And that's why, like, if you look at a lot of my social media, I haven't been posting for a while, and that's because I'm really trying to recover my mind, which has kind of been stolen from me. My Spanish is terrible, so I get the gist of what you said, but I really don't understand it. And also for my followers who are German, I really don't speak German. I'm so sorry. I don't know what you're saying. I think, okay, I'm not a big pet person, but I think getting a pet could help a lot of women who exit prostitution relearn like the concept of boundaries through having a pet. And anyone who knows me knows I'm a clean freak, so I'm always cleaning and wiping shit down and bleaching everything. So I've never had like dogs and cats, but I've had snakes and lizards and shit, which was easier for me, and I just see them as generally cleaner. But yeah, let me get off of here. I'm going. It's my next. Fuck. It's probably going to be next month, to be real. Outside of the Twitter space I'm doing on the 24th for women, I'm probably not going to do this for a while. I'm going to try to keep active on social media, but no promises, because obviously I'm trying to get my shit together. So I thank everyone who has tuned in. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for your feedback. And wait, someone has, oh shit. Okay, wait. I can't go just yet. Oh shit. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm new to a lot of these like platforms, so I don't know how to work everything yet. What's up, Gloria?
Sasha?
Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
You know what? I've had better days in my nightmares, but I'm pushing through. I'm hanging on.
That's okay. I want you to know something. Your past will be your power, because I have heard you speak in other spaces where I had no idea how old you were, but your mind and your knowledge of feminism, not this current, the feminism that's been co-opted by the
liberals.
Well, it's not just the women that co-opt it. See,
well, no, the liberals, I think. The liberal, American Liberal Party.
Right. Well, men were very upset in the 60s and 70s when women decided that we were going to make our own living, and choices whether we were going to have children or not, and whether we were going to be indifferent to them, and many of those women found lesbianism, whether they were, and they were so angry, and they have been angry, and they have been plotting and planning to destroy women who have who are independent. Now, we know this has been going on historically, the war against women, since the dawn of civilization, and so has prostitution. So, and women have always been, if you read the Bible, concubines, and there's different levels of prostitution. You have your high-class hookers, which are your more educated women who marry into wealth, and those wealthy men who are trafficking young women, like the Epstein buddies and the Weinsteins in Hollywood. What we need to do is we need to connect the dots. Now, I know you've been in therapy, and I highly recommend that you continue with a good therapist. Therapy has changed. It changed my life. I started when I was in my 20s, and I went on and off in therapy for many years, and I have had many different careers, and those careers and career changes were due to the fact that every time I worked anywhere, there were always sexual predators, and I couldn't work in that kind of an environment. So, and men will always, any woman, they will always look to that woman and say how they will exploit. Okay, even when you get into a relationship with a man, unless he has integrity and he really loves women, most of them, I would say at least 50%, maybe more, are porn addicted. There's a man by the name of John Euler who makes videos about porn addiction. He's a therapist, and he works with sex offenders. So he interviews these men. He's been interviewing them for decades, and he knows what a sexual predator is. He knows how they operate, their psychology, everything. So I recommend that if you want to really learn about the mind of the perverted man, I call it testosterone madness, you listen to John. I can put his link on here somewhere. He has he works with a fella who does his technical work, and they have a YouTube video a YouTube channel. It's called Unmasking the Trans Movement, and he analyzes the perversions of men, not just men who identify as women, but men who manipulate women and how they manipulate women. He has a lot of insight because he's a man, and because he's a therapist, and because he's been working with these sexual deviants for decades. Now, if we women fall into a trap, it's not because it's because we're ignorant, okay? And I can tell you personally how I fell into traps with men when I was younger. And men will frame women, all right? They will lie. They will pin shit on you, their shit. They are the greatest manipulators walking the planet. And personally, I think a lot of mothers need to realize not to coddle their sons. When women coddle their sons, and they allow their sons to manipulate them, those sons grow into manipulative men. And the most important job, which I never realized, is the job of a woman, a mother. The job of a mother is the most important job in the world.
I agree.
And yes, because you are, as a mother, you're the first role model. whether you are a mentor to a young woman or whether you actually have a child, okay, a female child too. Very, very important for women to know how the patriarchy operates, and not to take on the burden of the fallen mistakes because we fall into those traps. Let me just give you a real quick overview. My father was an amazing man, and all my uncles. They were hard workers. They loved their mother. They loved their wives, their daughters. They treated women with respect, but they respected themselves. It only takes a few seconds for me when I'm in the company of a man to know whether that man is porn addicted or not. And the statistics, we still don't really know the statistics. Many of them admit that they're porn sick, and pornography is violence against women.
Yes.
And I don't have to tell you about it because you're explaining your life, your experience in this. But I want you to know, and all these women who've been sucked into this trap, that it is not your fault. This is by design. We have no options. Okay, I used to go from job to job to job, to career to career to career. My mother would say, "Why do you keep changing careers?" And I never told her. I can't tolerate these men. I can't tolerate the abuse. So I would go on to another career or another job or whatever. And most women don't have the option to do that because they have children or because they're trapped. I just had a real, a deep notion of independence. And also, my dad believed in me. And I had good, strong female role models. And we need to support each other. Women really need to do this. And it's in the interest of the patriarchy for us to attack each other. So please, I'm asking you, never attack other women. We need to understand how we're all in this trap together. And I appreciate you, Sasha, and I'm sure many women appreciate you for what you have, how you have at this young age. There are many women that don't even know who Andrea Dworkin is, or some of the other feminist writers that you've mentioned, and you have a library in your head. I've listened to you speak about this, and I would love to be in more spaces with you, and maybe do a YouTube video with you, and really get into the meat of how we are going to get to where we need to get as women. Now, for me, I'm ready to step out the door. I'm pretty old. But for you, young people, young women, I'm here for you. If you need any kind of support, as long as I can, as long as my health holds up, I'm here for you to support you in what you're doing. And I want to connect you with other women who have been doing this work for years globally, have been working to end female genital mutilation in Africa, have been working with female refugees, women who have been raped as a tool of war, and prostituted, child soldiers, where young boys are taught how to rape their sisters and their mothers and murder them, and all the women in the villages. The patriarchy is a deep, dark pit of hell, and it is very complex. I want to just put one thing out there right now for what's going on with the trans movement. I want everybody to research Martin Rothblatt. If you don't know him, I'll be happy to put his video, give a link to his video where he's in woman face with his CV, his resume, which is a mile long, and he's worshipped all around the world, and he's the one that created the law, international law for self-ID, the Gender Recognition Act, and the hate crimes bill, you go to jail for dead naming and misgendering. This man is the serpent's egg, and he needs to be stopped. He's in woman face in this video, and he and a handful of other very wealthy, perverted men are all connected to bringing down women and women's role as the giver of life. They've created womb labs, and he made a robot out of his wife, and he's worshipped by all these CEOs and all these powerful men around the world. They are all perverted to the core. Never, ever, every time you meet a man, I don't care who he is, the President of the United States, the head of the United Nations, I don't care who you meet, any man, anywhere. The first thing you do is you ask him, how much pornography do you consume? Don't ask him, does he consume pornography, but how much? And John Hewler will help you understand how steeped in porn we are. And this is violent porn where women are gang raped. I mean, the things that I have heard, I don't want, there's a woman by the name of Genevieve Gluck who does videos about this. She watches this porn, she analyzes it, and she gets it out there. Women are being murdered and gang raped and abused in all over the world. This is happening. All right? Men have always had unfettered access to women. And what happened during the 60s and the 70s with the second wave of feminism, we said, no more. What part of no do you not understand? Stay the fuck away from us, particularly lesbians. And this is like, oh, you think you can keep us away any longer? No. We're coming in whether you like it or not. You can see that every day with what happened with Will Thomas. Don't ever call anybody by their so-called feminine name. Will Thomas is a man. That Baker dude from England, the one who cut off his testicles and ate them in prison. You cannot make this insane shit up. And then you got a whole slew of them in the streets trying to get him out of jail. Worshipping these perverted, mentally deranged, insane. There's nothing in the English language to describe what these people are. And they walk among us, and they want in. And we need to say, what part of no do you motherfuckers not understand? Out. Never set 1 foot near us. Not one. Do not insult women's intelligence and women's experience. I want to see you, Sasha. I want to see you stand strong. I want to see every single woman stand strong. Don't you ever take the burden of what the patriarchy has done to you or any other woman.
I appreciate that. And I do agree. A lot of women who have sons do coddle them. And when they find out about their behavior, there's no reprimand. And a lot of those men who grow up that way end up in the sex trade, abusing these women and creating more traumatized women who eventually do become mothers. And it's a way for the cycle to perpetuate itself. I want to say thank you to I am NLP. I don't know how to say that. Oh shit, my alarm just went off. I am NLP. Thank you. I appreciate it. It does do a lot of damage. It does take a lot away from your initial mental stability. It's hard to build it back up. And again, I'm going to have more lives in the future. That was my friend Gloria on, wait, what is this? Okay, I don't know what that is. I don't know what this is. I don't know what any of this crap is. I don't know how to, I'm going to learn how to work these platforms better too, because I saw people were requesting to go live and then it flashes and then it goes away. I don't know how to accept it. I'm only going to accept people I know, because obviously I don't want to get banned if some guy decides to come on here and jack off. And a lot of these accounts are new or don't have profile pictures. And I don't blame you, because we're in an age now where there's so much AI porn and there's so much like of people stealing other people's photos and doing crazy shit and whatever. But yes, in the future, I will have more lives. I will do more spaces where I'm more organized. But I just wanted to touch on this because it is haunting me and weighing on me and really bothering me. And so, hold on, I have one more person. Nor, Sister Nor. I don't know if that worked or not. Okay, well, I don't think it did work, but yes. So, mhm, I don't see it. I don't see it. So, invite to co-host. I'm gonna do closing questions. I'll do about 5 minutes and then I'll end it. Um, but yeah, I do appreciate all the people who were tuning in and listening and sharing their questions and their experiences and everything. Um, it's just it's really heavy. It's I don't blame people who don't speak out because it does fuck you up. And when you put yourself out there to say like, hey, I'm one of the people who experienced this, there's always going to be someone who's going to jump out and say, well, you put yourself in this position, or how do we know you're telling the truth, or just acting in bad faith just to get you to shut up. Sister Nor,
Hello?
can you hear me?
Hello to everyone. I'm Noor from Afghanistan, and I think Gloria ma'am know me. Did you remember me? I think you were asking for help at one point, and I don't have the power to help someone in Afghanistan. Are you the same?
I might.
Yes. I'm from Afghanistan, and I think this is your topic is world news. So just I have some inform about Afghanistan women's rights. There is not rights for women or girls. So I don't know why all countries and why whole world is silent about our country. So what do you think about did we are also human?
Yes. I do have a global network of women. I don't know if any of the women are near Afghanistan, but I still might be able to help you. Do you feel comfortable sharing what you need, or do you want to message me privately?
Oh, thanks a lot. Thank you so much. Just from two air, I ask everyone for helping, not financially help. I need protect my life, and I need my daughter's futures because they cannot go to school. And I was worked at different departments in our country, government, and now I am unemployed. But our country don't have any government because they are all terrorists. So we need we all women need, but there is no chance to get me someone take me from Afghanistan and my daughter go to school from 2 years. Before 2 years there was a corona banded school, and after this, so 4 years are lose my daughter. So there is very difficult in my life.
Okay. I think I'm not going to say it on here, but I do think I have a way to help you. Um, I'm going to message you privately and see if what I'm thinking of will help you. Um, would you be willing to come to America?
Oh, my goals, just my goal. Every country who accept me, I agree, because just I need safety, just I need safe life, and I should work. In my opinion, I should work, because if I don't work from where I take care of my daughters, I don't have son, I don't have son. And in our culture, when a woman don't have son, she is like a tree, which tree don't give fruit.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna mess.
So
I'm gonna message you because that does go in line with like the femicides of like the baby girls that are being killed in order to produce more sons. But yes, I'm gonna end this here. Um,
yes,
send me a.
I always.
I can't message you, so send me a DM, and then I will reply with my suggestion and what I think we should do. And to everyone who's tuned in, thank you again. I appreciate all the support. Um, it's been heavy. I will be more organized in the future, but just remember, if you can avoid it, please tell the people in your life, stop watching porn. Don't engage with any form of prostitution. And if you see a woman who needs help, try to help her without getting something from her if you can. I will be back sometime later to talk about more of the issues of women faced in Afghanistan, Iran, Kyrgyzstan, and China. And I hope everyone has a wonderful and healthy evening.
That's great. That's great. I very happy to find you, and I think my try. I tried hard, because I joined when I see there is a space. Then I think maybe I find someone who can help me. And I think 8 months ago, I was asked for help from Gloria ma'am. So she sent me Ilhan Umar. So I don't have any credit card. Ilhan Umar asked me, please donate